I found this Reddit post titled Utah CEO Praises Employee Who Had to Sell Dog After Mandated Back to Work with Only 2 Weeks Notice, among many other nauseating things. The title alone is probably one of the saddest things I've ever read, seeing as I have 4 dogs myself and I couldn't imagine giving them up to return to an office. Let me just show you.
I learned from one of our leaders that in the midst of hearing this message, went out and sold their family dog, which breaks my heart as someone who's been, at the head of the humanization of pets movement in other businesses that we've built. But truly, those are the sacrifices that are being made, and I honor you for those sacrifices.
Apparently, his heart breaks because an employee had to give up their family dog to go work in an office because that's the policy he has decided. Oh, and by the way, when he starts talking about the humanization of animals and being on the forefront of that, if you come to his LinkedIn and you scroll down, you can see that he worked at this place called Pet IQ for 10 years. Maybe this is what he's talking about. I don't know. If the CEO really was on the forefront of animal humanization and stuff like that, then he would understand and probably just let that person work remote or find a way to take care of that dog, but not praise them for giving it up so that they can come back to work in an office. This next clip is when he just is, well, let me just...
Remember, perfect is the enemy of good. We don't need perfect, we just need good. We just need you to show up and give an honest day's hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and go home to your family and enjoy what's really important and work towards having some of that freedom that we talked about.
Probably the only thing in this video that he says that I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, come in, do good work, go home, see your family, because that's what's really important. It's just that the other things after that.
There's not one of you here, and I challenge any one of you to outwork me, but you won't. I'm all in what we're doing here at Clearlink, and I want you to know it and feel it because this is what we do. And I've sacrificed, and those of you here have sacrificed well to be away from your family.
Of course, he's all in. He's the CEO. You challenge any one of these people on this call, I guess, to outwork you. But let's be honest, they don't have that sort of power to be able to do so, even if they wanted to. They're limited in their own little job capacity, and it wouldn't be possible anyway. So the question is kind of silly, but I guess it's a cool little flex. All right, so this next part.
Some have already quietly quit their positions, but are taking a paycheck. In 1 month this year alone, I got data that about 30 of you didn't even open or crack open laptops. And those are all remote employees, including their manager.
Here's the thing, that's not quiet quitting. Those are people that are just completely taking advantage of a remote policy.
Including their manager for a whole month. How can that be in a company where we're doing our very best? And what does that say about us? And that they're still here. They're still employees. None lost their jobs over this.
Why? Fire them. If they weren't working for a month straight and you know that, then just fire them. Don't do this whole like, I'm being forgiving and allowing them to stay. Just fire them. Why are you doing this?
Again, not to say that they weren't working at all, but those are not great indicators for us to look at.
So what was happening if they didn't open their laptops for 30 days? Did their job duties involve tasks that absolutely require them to use their laptop all day long, or could they do it in another way?
So much now is taking place in our organization with some of our developers could be working for 2 different companies. We don't know. We hope that's not the case, but we don't know.
Why? What's wrong with developers working for more than one employer if they're putting out work that is satisfactory? If we look at the CEO's LinkedIn page right now, he's currently the founding and managing partner at Clark Capital Partners. He's currently the chairman of the board for Brandless Inc. He's currently the vice chair of the board of directors for Jupiter Acquisition Corporation. He's currently the founder and CEO of Clearlink. On top of that, he's the chair board of trustees at Utah Valley University. He's on the board of governors, Salt Lake Chamber. Whenever I point this out, there's someone in the comments that goes, but Josh, these positions don't require a full-time commitment. Okay, I mean, sure, I get it. But when you have like this many positions and some of them are paid and some of them are volunteer and you're a full-time CEO for a company, then why can't a developer work 2 jobs at once? Here's another part which I find to be at least a little condescending.
Many content writers today are now exclusively using AI to write. I can do that in about 30 minutes of an 8-hour work.
Even if they are, why is that bad? It means they can do more work faster. If you're going to roast us for making our own jobs easier, then why hire us, you know?
So what do we need to do? Well, let's put out 30 to 50 times our normal production.
But do they get 30 to 50 times their compensation for that level of output? My guess is no.
Or substantially more of our production. Things that do not grow are on a path to die. We must grow and we must adapt, even Darwin's style, as a business is the ultimate survival of the fittest.
From my understanding, there was a mandated return to office, and this meeting took place, and everything was blowing up in Slack and their internal forums that they used to talk about the company. And then I'm guessing that the CEO decided to do a formal company town hall thing in which he goes over all of this.
Today I'm going to address one single Slido question, no more, as there were so many questions outside of what was already addressed.
He says, I'm going to address one question in Slido, but we don't get to see the question. We just kind of have to put the context together to figure out what the question was. But what I think the question was is, what about single mothers and working parents at home with their children taking care of their kids during the day? Do they still have to come to the office too? From the sounds of it, this is his response to that question. Maybe it was phrased differently, but that's kind of what it seems like was asked.
Today I'm going to address one single Slido question, no more, as there were so many questions outside of what was already addressed that came without any respect or merit and just full of nonsense. And that is the question about childcare. It is the question that was debated for hours and hours. There were heated conversations over this. There were meaningful and even tearful conversations around childcare. And it was an issue that I raised and wanted to talk about because I know how this has affected single mothers. I support and serve on a board of an organization that does nothing but raise money for scholarships for single mothers.
Now let's pause right there because he never says the name of the organization that he's a part of that raises money for single mothers to get an education. But if you come to his LinkedIn, it seems to be the Stella H. Oaks Foundation, which is what he says it does. It raises money for single mothers to get an education. But just wait until you hear what he has to say next.
Yes, it's very difficult to source an adequate and trusted healthcare professional for your children. And I say healthcare, and I mean it. Healthcare, you want somebody to take care of all aspects of your health. As I'd mentioned, breadwinning mothers were hit the very hardest by this pandemic. Many of you have tried to tend your own children, and in doing so, also manage your demanding work schedules and responsibilities. And while I know you're doing your best, one could also argue that generally this path is neither fair to your employer nor fair to those children.
So, being a single mother and taking care of your child and doing your full-time job is not fair to your child or your job?
I do believe that only the rarest of full-time caregivers can also be a productive and full-time employee at the same time.
That's not a good take.
You may take issue with any part of this, but I believe that the data will also support this in time. As I've seen in Slido and all these other questions that we've seen on Slack, that we can torture those numbers until they tell us exactly what we want to hear.
He says, you can take issue with any of this, but I believe in time, the data will show. And then right after that, he says,
as I've seen in Slido and all these other questions that we've seen on Slack, that we can torture those numbers until they tell us exactly what we want to hear.
So if that's what you think, then why should I believe the data that will show in time? Here's another thing I'd like to bring up. Yes, you are a trustee on the Stella H. Oaks Foundation, which helps single mothers get an education. They get that education, they go and get a job that's now full-time. Well, according to you, only the rarest of parents can be a full-time employee and a full-time parent. Should they only go there and then get a part-time job and take care of their kid full-time? Or should they get a full-time job that pays a lot more money and then put their kid into childcare or something like that and then just focus on their job? Is that what you expect them to do? Is your CEO to decide who can be a good parent and a good employee at the same time? No.
There are only so many waking hours in each day, and it is this value for value exchange that is rarely optimized. Some, like a VP, Lisa Fowler, who is here, has traded in full-time position as a vice president, which remains, but has opted to be in a part-time role, which we have honored as a fair balance between the two.
Yeah, I mean, you honored it because she's the VP of the company. Are you going to honor an agreement with some employee that just got hired that you've never met that needs some special arrangement? Who knows? It's the VP. You're going to make special exceptions for other executives.
It can be done, but it adds so much stress to a working mother's life that I would never want to put on anyone. As I watched and have family members who are working single mothers and others and have supported them throughout our lives. I'm sensitive to this issue and we want to be supportive. That's where we've made great exception to this request that you return to work. And it is even one of those special working mothers that has removed a dog from their household.
So in the end, we find out what he thinks of working parents, and we find out it's one of those single mothers that gave up their family dog. You can say that you're sensitive to this issue, and you can say that you relate to it, and you can try to make yourself feel validated by pulling all of these really kind of unrelated issues, but it's not working.
But what is most troubling is that in these times of calling upon you for great need and effort within our organization, the natural reaction is to backbite or murmur or find fault and criticize.
Okay, so this next part, before we get into it, it's essentially, won't somebody think of the CEOs?
In these town halls, I alone have been compared to a convicted Wall Street felon. I've been criticized for my faith, where I went to college, and it wasn't at all about Harvard or Oxford, two universities of which I'm an alum.
He says he's been criticized for his faith, and if you come over to his LinkedIn page, you can see that he went to BYU, which is an LDS university. He says that he's also been roasted for his education, and I would imagine he's, again, pointing to BYU, but it might also be the fact that your degree is in geography and you're a CEO of a technology company.
I've been criticized for discussing my family's philanthropy and aiming it towards Clearlink. The prejudice, contention, hypocrisy, and unfairness of these statements made by many who remain at Clearlink were made by none who knew me and none who know you. Where are the Clearlink values in that? Diversity, equity, inclusion as a cause are created to extinguish any such action. We have full-timers that do this every single day, yet it's pervasive in our most basic communications with one another.
Interesting take.
Many would argue that you are only the voice of your underserved community. Many who have been the loudest voices are not representing their community at all. They are not affected as working mothers. They are not affected as those who will be asked to return to an office. Many of them have been the most vocal.
If you're not part of the minority of people who are adversely affected by this, then be quiet is the vibe.
These three letters, DEI, can only exist where you can respect and even revere the person who directly opposes your view or those who of your chosen community. But interesting has been that not once has your CEO heard from any of these critics or pundits about ideas or thoughts or changes that they would like to enact to help this company grow and achieve what it needs to achieve to thrive. Again, the irony. What is most troubling of all of this is the amount, to me, is the amount of wasted time that we're all put throughout this process.
We're wasting time. Just look, if you're not one of these situations that's more difficult, then what are you complaining about? Okay, the value for value is something.
And there is no place that I've seen where these kinds of verbal assaults have been permitted. Many of you who have come from other organizations who are seeing this for the first are aghast by what you are seeing. It blew me away. And I listened and I was kind and I responded with kindness, but no more. You have misinterpreted my kindness for weakness.
Classic. You've taken my kindness for weakness. Okay, Mr. CEO, stop watching so many Hollywood movies.
You've continued to do so, and it will stop. It's not going to be permitted by me. It should not be permitted by you or anyone else, and it can't be tolerated within this organization.
This next part, he talks about how they came to the conclusion to bring everyone back to the office, and he talks about how it was a collective decision, and it wasn't him by himself. And they talked about it for a few hours. Him and 11 other people made the decision for hundreds, if not thousands of other employees, and then says, and if you want to be a part of those conversations, then become a leader.
These changes that we've discussed, these changes that we've brought before you, as I'd stated before, have been debated and decided collectively with our executive team of 12 leaders. Now, as a reminder, that's 11 more executive leaders than were here at this company when I came back to it in January, okay? So those 11 executives here in this company, each of these leaders were part of this decision-making process. That is the time for debate and exchange of ideas and differing. And if you want to be a part of that, become a leader.
That's like his mic drop. Step up. It only gets better.
You know my mobile. Call it. Have a conversation. But we're going to have a conversation with respect and a conversation with dignity in line with our value. To the rest of you who have chosen not to do this, that are salaried employees, today is your lucky day. Today, I'll offer you $5,000 as a bonus to quit. Now, please refrain from further negativity and litter to our Slack and other public means. However, if you'd like to contact me, as I mentioned, you have my number. But if you think you'll write a nastygram on the way out and post it on any other forum moments before tonight's deadline and expect this bonus, that will not happen either.
Now, I'm not a labor lawyer or anything like that. I just make a lot of videos on what employees can and cannot do and what CEOs do all the time. But maybe to a labor lawyer or the NLRA, this might smell like retaliation for talking about workplace conditions. Maybe there are some labor lawyers watching this video, and you tell me.
If you are not happy with what is taking place in this company, I will not say what previous predecessors of mine have said, that if you don't like it, get out of here. I'm inviting you and I will pay you to go if you do not enjoy what your job is offering you to, because it's about to get great. And I want great people here with us that are going to use and live by our values. But if the prospect of returning to an office or the structure of what's offered for the minority of you that it affects negatively in your view, again, if it is too much to bear, we understand that, and I cannot change your level of happiness. In other words, when what you take in the form of indignity, lack of respect, or can't do attitude is more than your work produced, the value for value exchange ends. And I assure you it will end either by your choice or ours.
By your choice or ours.
And now I'm hearing stories of our tech team staying up to all hours of the night to finish projects. And I'm so proud of the work that is being done there.
Are you compensating them for the work that is being done there if they're staying up all night? Are they being paid salary? Are they getting that overtime? Can you do more than be proud of the work that they're doing? What's going on?
And I can feel the enthusiasm and the excitement in it. But so much of this excitement today is being buried in the nonsense we read Slack or in Slido questions that can't even be formatted in to fit into Slido and turn into something entirely. There are those of us who take this very, very seriously.
Of course you take it very, very seriously. It's your company. You make all the money. You make all the decisions. Like, you're on more boards than like a handful of darts, my man.
This is where we are spending more of our waking hours than any other place here in this job. You might go and sleep with your partner and share a bed, or some of you have a partner that's in a different city, but I promise you, you are not seeing them or working with that person as much as you are working with your Clearlink family.
That's the saddest thing after the dog part is you're not seeing your partner that you sleep in a bed with or live with or whatever as much as you live and work with your Clearlink family, and that is probably the saddest state of affairs of corporate America, really. You spend more time with clowns at work than the people you actually care about.
That's the trade you make when you sign up.
Literally, that's the trade you make. You trade time with your real family for time with your fake family, who makes decisions for you and overrides you and can dangle a paycheck over your head or offer you money to quit and then take it away if you write a nasty gram. Like, it's so sad.
For any career and any job, that you're working with these people for more waking hours than you will spend with almost any.
Okay, so good. I'm glad you know that, and that's why a lot of people enjoy working remotely, because they get to work and spend time with the people they actually care about and love, not the CEO, not the person just down a couple cubicles, the real people, their family. That's why people like working remote.
Now, is that the way it ought to be? I don't know, but that is the way it generally has been. Like, for those of you that are new, please don't be scared about this. If you don't trust me now, and this team that we've assembled, you probably shouldn't trust any company ever. We've earned that right to be trusted. We've earned that right here. And I'm telling you, if it's about something that was said with the best of intention and you're taking it to be ill will, you're not being fair to us, not being fair to yourselves. Remember this when we were talking about certain charities and the great debate of, I'm afraid that Clearlink is not going to support in our Clearlink causes, Clearlink charities initiatives, that we're not going to support the kind of causes that are important to our employees. Well, we met that challenge and beyond. And I wrote a $100,000 check as a matching grant. Can I tell you how much of that has been matched in about a year? Anybody have any idea what that number is?
No.
How many people?
No, we don't have the financial information that you have on the inside of the company, CEO. This is condescending and rhetorical. You know we don't know the numbers like you do.
$6,400 of checks have been written. Now, bless those who have done it. Bless them. I'm grateful for them. And they will change lives by and through their effort. But this is what we're dealing with. Very vocal minority who will make a stink and make things hard for those who are doing their job out of social obligation.
I think it's probably the other way around. The vocal minority are the people who aren't afraid to speak up. That's how it actually works in corporate. There are a lot of people who probably disagree with you, but don't want to risk their livelihood. Anyways, this is the YouTube channel that has been posting all of these videos. Disgruntled dog who was recently rehomed to accommodate a CEO's poorly thought out return to office. I'm gonna end this video the right way. Where are my dogs? How could you give up a family dog? These are my 4 lovely dogs, and the thought of giving any one of these up so that I could go work in an office is insane to me, and would never happen. If you enjoyed today's video, maybe leave a like, click subscribe if you'd like to see me take on the corporate world some more. Hi. And if you didn't like the video, that's fine. Leave a like because look at how cute these dogs are. If you like what I do here on this channel and you'd like to support me, I guess, and my dogs by extension, then my Patreon link is down in the description. So having said all that, I hope everyone is well, and I hope this has been value added for you. And they all say goodbye. For the people that say that I have a lot of dog hair on my microphone, maybe now this explains why that happens. It's a futile effort.